A lot of the songs on the album, I mean, including One More Time, they've all got quite long musical introductions to them before you actually hear some vocals on it. Did it work out that because you had more input from the rest of the group, that it turned out to be like a more musical album?
Yeah, certainly with the slower ones, they could have been, virtually all of them could have been longer. I had to edit quite a lot of them, and or decide at the time that they were going to be short, because it would have turned into, I think it was in danger of rambling too much. I didn't know how many slow songs were going to go on and how many fast, and I thought, well, if the balance is tips towards sort of 5 or 6 very long, very slow pieces, the record isn't going to be a fair reflection of what we're doing. But when we were going through them, we were actually just playing through before we started recording, were very, very long. I mean, something like One More Time, we would play for like half an hour, so that you would know all the bits that you could do in it, and sort of all the little tunes that there might be. And so I mean, it's quite hard when you've got songs like that to decide how long they should be, because I was always doing the vocals after the something. I'd just be doing rough guide vocals. I'd never know how emotional I was going to get, and whether the intro should be long or whether I should come in hard to the start of the song and then have a long outro. It's difficult to know those sort of things, and so a lot of it's like just gambling, really. I think it worked. I think that One More Time, if we were to redo it, would be longer. It's the only song on the record that I would make longer. It's something like Icing Sugar, which is like just mental. It's like one of Simon's songs, you know, and Boris. It's just little drums and just like a weird stuff. I mean, that was originally about 8 minutes long. I mean, it had everything on it. It had like percussion and birdsong and thunder, and you know, it's just one of those things that we just had like an enormous big slab of it, and everyone just put on what they wanted, and then it was like edited together to form like just a complete song.
Like Cockatoos, I mean, is that like another literary one?
The title obviously comes from
the Patrick
White book, yeah. But the song has nothing at all. There's no relevance to the book at all. But the sound at the beginning of it was actually, it's supposed to be a string section on the emulator, and I was going through all the different sounds I played, and I thought, that sounds like, you imagine like a big flock of birds taking off its antenna, and I thought to myself, it's like Cockatoos. And so to recognise the songs, because they never have proper titles all the time we're going through, it's like they're referred to as the, you know, like, oh, it was that chic one, and the funk one, so that it doesn't influence me just to, you know, what the content of the word's going to be finally, because if you give them a title straight away, then you start always to think under that title. So that one became Like Cockatoos because it was the one that had that sound like cockatoo. So it's, you know, but it's actually nothing to do with the book. But I mean, anyone who knows about The Cure knows that I have great fondness for all Patrick White's literature. I mean, it's influenced me in the past lyrically on a couple of songs, but not really on this record. The only literary one on the record is How Beautiful You Are. There isn't really anything else, because I didn't actually read anything which inspired me to write. Everything else comes from direct experience, which is unusual because there's usually 2 songs that are nicked.
The Perfect Girl, I mean, was that written for anybody?
Yeah.
Cool.
Whoever's listening.
So, do you often write songs specifically for people, or is that like a new departure for you?
I always have specifics in mind, even if I'm writing like very general mood sort of songs. I always know exactly what. I mean, it would be impossible otherwise to write a song. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be impossible, but it'd be very weak, I think, to sit down and put together a whole bunch of words just for the sake of it. I think it'd be awful. So I always know who I'm writing about. I mean, I'm the only person that knows. I would never tell. I mean, the rest of the group don't know either. I would never say, because it. I think it would sort of take away some of the mystery of the song. It'd also get me in a lot of trouble, I think, as well, if everyone knew exactly what all the songs were about. So I mean, I always think that when I write songs and they have specific people in mind or specific events, that those people, or the people who were present at the time, know, and no one else is going to. But I mean, the other good thing about not saying exactly what they're about is that they can appeal to other people because they're not pinned down. You've
been with the same girl for what, 14 years?
Yeah, 15 now, I think.
Are you married to her?
No. No, it's just a friendship.
Does she criticise your work?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you take any notice of it?
Yeah, a lot. I'm particularly lyrically, she doesn't really musically, because she doesn't write music, so I wouldn't take much notice. But lyrically, she's very critical. Yeah, she often says, you shouldn't sing that, it sounds stupid. I either agree or disagree. She doesn't ever impose herself on it. I mean, I generally have to ask her opinion, because she knows how much, I suppose, it all means. So I don't know. No, she contributes. She contributes as when Simon's been going out with the same girl for about 12 or 13 years, and I've known her for that long as well. So she sort of says, I mean, when I was doing vocals for this record, we had what was called the panel, which was Simon, Mary and Carol, and they were the three people out of everyone that I paid most attention to when I asked, if I was doing a song like One More Time or 1,000 Hours, if it sounded convincing. When I was singing it, and I was being very involved in what I was singing, and I wouldn't want a lot of people there, I would always have those three there, and Dave, who was like engineering, and I'd go in and I'd say, does it sound right? And if they didn't think it sounded right, even though I knew that I was singing it like from the bottom of my heart, if I thought if it doesn't sound right to them, it's never going to sound right to anyone else. So in that sense, I take notice of the others in the group, like Boris, particularly for a lot of the structure of songs and the tempo. So I mean, everyone sort of within the Cure setup has their own particular role to play. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sort of isolated to the degree where I take no notice. And I mean, as Mary has known me for so long, she's obviously got more of an insight problem than anyone else into what I'm trying to do anyway.
Shiver and Shake, that's a pretty angry song. I mean, do you have to be in a certain kind of mood to write lyrics like that?
Yeah, that's a peculiar song actually to do, because that was the one song that it took me, I had about 20 goes probably singing that. Every day I would sort of half-heartedly have a go, and it was only on one particular day, really near the end of the recording, when something happened, and I thought, right, and it was like we were doing something else, and I had a phone call, and I thought, right, this is the moment, and I just went and I said, quick, put on the tape Shiver and Shake, and I went and just sang it in one go. So it's I like that vocal. I think it's because it's just, you can tell it's just done, and it's really raw. It's good, and it's all sort of breaks up, and I don't quite hit the notes. I like that when I do vocals like that. Some of the others I took like quite a lot of time on, like working out how I should sing, like All I Want. I sort of thought that through quite a few times to get it all in the right place. But a song like Shiver and Shake was just a rant, really. It was good fun to do. Once I'd done it, I knew that that was the one song, even if that hadn't sounded right, even if the entire vocal had been flat, it would have had to have stayed on, because it had captured exactly how, what the song was supposed to. But I actually wrote the words to it quite early last year. I had the words for a long time.
So to write lyrics generally, I mean, do you need to be in a particular mood, or do you work best under pressure, or what?
No, I don't. I work worst under under the manufactured pressure that you generally find in a recording studio. In the past, I've gone in with less words than I needed, and I've ended up sort of writing words that, when I look back at them, I can see the songs that didn't have enough time spent on, or were written under pressure. But with this, I mean, I'd say out of the 25 or 27 songs, probably about 14 or 15 sets of lyrics were virtually written. I never finish a set of words until it's actually sung. I mean, I'm changing it all the time, even when I'm out singing. But a lot of the basic ideas and a few lines were already there. So I knew I had more than enough to do a single album, which is all I envisaged doing when we went into the studio anyway. So there was no problem to continue writing once we were there, because recording at Miraval, which was like a vineyard, more than a studio really. It was just.
Whereabouts is that? That's in France.
Yeah, in Provence. It was just so different to anywhere we've recorded before. We've always recorded in London or around London. It was just so glorious to get up and just walk outside, and it was like autumn. It was really nice just to walk. You could like sit in the middle of a field and just like finish off a set of words, and just there'd be nothing to intrude. There's like no traffic, there's no people, there's no phones. It was just perfect. It's perfect isolation, really. I lived for like a month. It was just like the record, which is the first time I've been allowed to do that, because always you come out of the studio and you either you get into a cab and you see the real world, and it's raining and there's people going to work or whatever, and it sort of breaks the the atmosphere. Whereas with this, all that the only reason we were there for a month was just to make the record. And it was, as we'd demoed virtually everything in a little 8-track studio for 2 weeks, and so we knew what was going to work and we knew that it was going to be good. The atmosphere was really perfect, so there was lack of pressure actually that's made it such a good record.
The last track on the album is Fight. That's a pretty positive song, isn't it?
Yeah, which is why we stuck it at the end. It's that's the most unusual song on the record, I think, from a Cure point of view, from a historical point of view, because we've never really done a positive song like that, lyrically as positive as that, where I'm actually saying do something about it. You know, it's usually like the songs you're either being cornered or you're being forced to do something, and this is like it's almost anthemic, really. It was there's like a pride involved in it, which I sort of felt when we were making the record and we were there, and I was thinking it's so good that after all this time we're still doing things which are better than what we've done before. I thought, and it's disproving all, you know, again historically what happens to groups and how they're supposed to creatively dry up and get worse and get very flabby and sort of and lose touch and all the other things that do happen to 99% of groups after like the first, well, I mean, mostly it's like the first week it appears, but generally after the first 2 records, and it's just I was just really felt pleased. Now I've just translated that into when I was starting of how I felt, which is the same as I feel now about sort of not believing in other people's criticism, you know, and of actually like doing something about it. I mean, the reason why the group started was a very positive was for very positive reasons, was to react against the dross, you know, and that's still the central reason why the group continues, because I still think like I haven't heard a record that's as good as this recently. There's been a few, well, there've been a few that are as good as, like Kate Bush's album is as good as this. It sounds definitely big-headed, doesn't it? But I mean, just from my point of view, what I like, and that if I was, like I was saying earlier, of looking at the group from an outsider's point of view, I think it's the best thing we've done. So I mean, I thought there had to be a song in it that translates that sort of pride, you know. But it was funny singing it. It was a very, very strange feeling, and listening back to it was very strange. So I think, you know, it sort of like surges into this, you know, rise up and fight sort of chorus. Yeah, I can just see them punching the air now. Oh dear.
Now I believe you also filmed a concert in Orange, which is coming out soon, called The Cure in Orange. Why did you want to do a concert film?
Again, it was all part of this sort of, there was a very retrospective air about everything last year, and the group had reached a point, we played in America, and I thought that we had reached a point with like the songs we were playing and the lineup as it was, and just the show that had to end last year, and I thought, well, it would be really nice just to capture it. Initially it was just for our own benefit. We were going to film it, you know, just like a video, and just have it and say, you know, that was me, you know. Like we thought about it and thought how we could do it, and we got Tim Pat interested in, you know, and he'd never made like a full-length film, and the more we talked about it, we found the easier it would be to do, because like we were presenting ourselves on stage anyway with a light show, and we were playing the songs that we, you know, it was all there. It wasn't like we had to just do anything. So once we roped him in and got him interested in it, he sort of just took the whole thing over, and I mean, it's really his film. It's his
it's his first feature film, isn't it?
Yeah, it's his perspective on us playing the concert. So he felt that over the past sort of 4 years, he's made The Cure too small. He's like very worried about having put us in always onto a small screen and only showing really one side visually of what we are, which is like he's always taken up the more humorous side to what we do. And he wanted to redress the balance as well by making a film which is, I mean, it looks enormous, and the place was picked, especially he sort of went down there and said, you know, that there's these old amphitheatres in the south of France, and it would just look really perfect if you play there. So it was, you know, it's his film, he's directing it. All we did was just we played the concert, and he was supposed to capture it. But the thing is, it's like it's also from on stage. He came on stage, and it's not a film of a concert. It's far more than that, and there's a lot of sort of surprising things in it, which it's unlike anything that anyone's seen before. I mean, as it would be with Tim doing it. Again, it's like when we go out and play concerts this year, it'll be a completely new batch of songs. I mean, it'll even be a different lineup. We're gonna add a 6th member.
Who's that going to be?
Year. I'm not allowed to say it because he's with another group at the moment, and we're stealing him.
Is he well known?
No, the group is though.
So how important do you think your image is to you these days?
I think the group image is really important. I never think of me having an image. It's like if I know that I can cut my hair off like I did last year, I know that it still matters as little to me as it always has. I mean, I look how I choose to look. It has nothing really to do with being in a group. You know, I've got my hair back now almost to what it was like this time last year, just because I feel like it. I think it looks better on me than short hair. But the actual image of the group we think about, because obviously like with 5 and there's going to be 6 of us, I mean it's even more difficult to have like a coherent image rather than I wouldn't like the group for it to sort of like be seen as 5 people. I much, you know, even though there are 5 people involved, I much prefer to look at the group as like a unified front, like an us against them sort of idea. But I think it's far less a visual thing, the Cure's image, than how we do things, and people sort of, the image is built up through what we don't do as much as what we do. You know, it certainly has nothing to do with us all wearing the same shirts. It goes much deeper than that. We've always had a very sort of proud and very obstinate attitude towards what we do, in that we do it for ourselves and we do it for people like us who are going to like it, and so we never feel like anyone's doing us any favours by allowing us to be played on the radio when we think that we should be played on the radio, seen all the time. So it's but it's just when people know that, they know what we're like, and they know that we're very dismissive of the whole thing and of that sort of the very unimportant side of being in a group. But that's the sort of image that I worry about. I mean, it'd be awful if we sort of went soft. The whole thing would fall to pieces, I think.
Does your self-confidence increase with success?
I've always had confidence in what I've done, because I know that by the time it gets to the point where other people can get their hands on it or can listen to it, I've already agonised about it so much that I know it's right. I mean, it's right for me. I mean, in that sense, I'm very selfish about everything that we do. But no, I've always been self-confident. That you can be sort of quiet and self-confident, and I'm not a very extrovert person in public. I mean, I am in the videos and I am on stage, I suppose. I mean, I must be to even walk out on stage, but I don't seek attention, so I'm quietly confident. It's not very cliche, not very hackneyed.
Do you feel any sense of responsibility to set an example to some of the young fans?
This the one difficult area of us becoming popular is me having to come to terms with that people see me they see me as someone larger than life, and I can never get used to it, because it's the same people, like in particular like being with Mary, and I'd never think of myself as anything other than me, and it's difficult when you know that everything you're doing, like when we're here, it's going to be reported on and photographed, and I can't sort of throw up in a club anymore like I used to without worrying about the consequences, you know. But again, I think a lot of the people, I would imagine that a lot of people like us because we do what we want, and we are normal, and I don't really need to think about setting an example, because I set an example to myself, so I don't really have to worry about anyone else. I mean, I hate myself if I do something, the next day I think, you know, why on earth did I say that? Why did I do that? So over the course of the years, I've got used to sort of thinking, probably more than other people do, about what I'm going to do, if it's going to affect anyone else. I never bother if it isn't. But so it's at the same time, I don't feel responsible in the way of like thinking, hey kids, you know, like this is your Uncle Robert saying don't do this. But I haven't done anything over the past few years which I wouldn't want anyone to know about anyway, so I don't have to agonise over it too much. I don't think that I should be I mean, I've always absolved myself of that sort of responsibility. I don't see why I should be forced on me just because our records are popular. I mean, that's why I don't put myself forward. I try not to very much, less and less.
Does the absurdity of the whole music business and the whole thing ever strike you?
No more so than life. No, I mean, because we're not really involved. We never see it. We never go to anything that's music busy. So the whole thing about the selling of records and the complete disregard for what they contain horrifies me. It doesn't strike me as particularly absurd. The race to be number one, the whole way that people conduct themselves, and the emphasis being geared on sales and success, and over a period of time you become so aware that no one really gives a toss what you're actually doing, apart from the people that will take it home and listen to it. No, and it's so. I mean, I always think of the link between me and the person that's going to listen to what we do or see the concert. I never ever spend any time worrying about what goes on in between, because it goes, everything's done within the whole little Cure world, and then it's just like, you know, it's sort of shipped out. We give birth to it, and it's there. It's really complete, and all people have got to do is listen to it if they want to, or experience it if they want to.
In the videos that you do, it seems like Lol always draws the short straw when it comes to being
Lol drew
tortured.
the short straw when he dropped from his mother's womb.
Is this a master plan you've got to always make Lol suffer in the video?
Well, Lol, I think the reason why Lol's always been in the group is because he's always been that foil for that side of my character in particular, and he's always been willing to put up with it. I mean, what you don't see is him giving it all back, but that, you know, he has become, well, I mean, he always has been the scapegoat. It's just, it's developed in the videos, particularly because Pat sees it and sort of draws it out. You know, it's just natural, really. He's picked on by everyone. He's like a real sort of Stan Laurel personality. Everyone picks on him. He doesn't seem to mind though. He relishes it.
Do you believe in God?
I don't know. No, I don't believe in God, really. I have in my worst moments, I have belief in absolutely nothing. I think everything's just as it seems.
But don't you believe in yourself?
I don't. Quite often, I mean, most of the time, I have no belief in my own existence after I die. No, I don't at all. Which is where all the depression comes from in a lot of the songs. I mean, it's such a, everything's so hollow if you actually feel like that, and you can't ever shake it. I don't know. I went through a very cynical phase. There's still vestiges of it, which only leads me to believe that people have faith because they're scared. I mean, they won't accept their own finite nature. But I don't know. I mean, if you believe something, it's true. So it's one of those things. I mean, I confront it all the time. Every time I go up in an aeroplane, I confront my.
Does that bother you, flying?
Yeah, every fibre of my being screams that I shouldn't be up there. I think you've got to. It's like, if you just think, you know, like beneath your feet, well, there's nothing. It's just survival instinct. It's like I tingle all over. I hate flying. I wouldn't stop it though, through being scared, because that would be admitting that you were scared of your own death, which I don't really think I am.
Can you see a finite end to it?
Not in real terms, but I can in an abstract way. Yeah, I can see me not having to do an interview and not having to get up in the morning to play a concert. But I don't sort of think about it. I think it will present itself very naturally. I've always thought that, even when we hadn't even made the first album, I always thought that the end of the group would present itself very naturally. I thought for a while in 1982 that it would stop, and that after Pornography that we wouldn't do anything else, and then it just sort of like tumbled into the next sort of bit of the Cure. So I think it'll be really obvious when we stop. I'll just sort of wake up, I think, oh God, you know, this isn't appealing anymore. But when it comes, it will be easy to stop, because our commitments are always kept very, you know, I always make sure that they're never that far in advance, so that it allows me the freedom to wake up and think, I don't really want to do this much longer.